list.
Late-breaking stories. Boy, they're not happy in Southern California. They are not happy with Lincoln Riley. He's making $11.5 million a year. The program has slipped nationally. They're not viewed as being upper echelon in the Big Ten. And now they're really steaming because Lincoln Riley does not want to sign a multi-year contract extension to continue the rivalry. The rivalry with Notre Dame. The rivalry that goes back to 1920, the Knute Rockne era. Lincoln Riley wants to sign only a one-year contract. Notre Dame says, no, we've played you 94 times. Why should we do this? Well, Lincoln Riley says, I don't know what the new rules on the college football playoffs are going to be. I don't know how many guaranteed slots they're going to be for Big Ten teams. In essence, he doesn't want to play tough guys, non-conference that might punch him in the mouth and lose a game because that might impact their ability postseason. People at USC are just beside themselves. Not only are they no longer in a West Coast conference, they went to the Big Ten. They didn't do real well. They lost all their road games this year in the conference. And now he doesn't want to play Notre Dame. Man, that's shameful. Second item, Minnesota Timberwolves. We've talked about great players, and there's a lot of them in the NBA, and a whole bunch of them are on display right now. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody as mouthy as Anthony Edwards is. He just got socked with a $50,000 fine again by the NBA for uttering a stream of obscenities on network TV after Minnesota got blown out of its first playoff game by Oklahoma City in the conference finals. This guy, invoke brain before invoking mouth, but not him. He has been fined. I went back and checked. He's been fined $320,000 this year by the league for all types of obscene things on the floor, gestures, mouthing off to officials, flagrant fouls, etc. He's lost $242,000 in salaries because of suspensions and games missed. And he's had 17 technical fouls. Every time he gets hit with a technical, I think it's a $2,000 fine. The guy's making so much money, I guess he doesn't care. But it's just absurd the way he conducts himself. As great a player as he is, as emotional he is, he just comes unglued at all times of the day and night in different sets of circumstances. When they win, he's raucous. When they lose, he's unbelievably out of control. Welcome to Minnesota Timberwolves basketball. Third topic on the table. This involves USA Soccer, both the women's and the men's team. Men's team got bad news today. They're getting ready to play in the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which will lay the groundwork to get ready for the final roster you're going to put together for the World Cup next year. They were informed that Christian Pulisic, who's really their lead scorer, is not going to play in the Gold Cup. He has played so many minutes and so many games and has had so many nagging injuries for AC Milan and Italy that Christian Pulisic is not going to play for Team USA in the Gold Cup going forward. He's not the only one. Weston McKennie is not going to play because his Italian team is going to be involved in the Club World Cup. Gio Reyno's got injury problems. He's been playing over in Italy or Germany. He's had multiple injury problems. So Mauricio Pochettino, the head coach, he's got half a roster. He's got a lot of young kids, but he doesn't have the cornerstone guys that the young kids are supposed to learn from. So this may not be a real good Gold Cup tournament for Team USA. And the other one, Emma Hayes, the coach of the women's national team, and they've done really well. They just confirmed that 3 of their top scorers are not going to be able to play this spring into the summer. Trinity Rodman has chronic back problems. She's just flown to London, England to see specialists to determine what to do, whether it's injections or whether there's a surgical procedure with discs. Trinity Rodman's a really good player. And 2 of their other players have gone to the coach and indicated we're going on maternity leave. Mal Swanson and Sophie Smith are not going to play because they're going to be expecting. And here we are on the brink of the World Cup, and they're without 3 of their top people, and 2 of them elected to have babies rather than play for the flag. Wow. John, the floor is yours to talk about Southern Cal or what's going on in soccer.
Okay, so I'm thinking about my brother Lincoln Riley and the calculus that he's going through, because you get to the Big Ten, it's a tougher conference, right? And,
Yes.
I mean, it's certainly tougher than the old Pac-12. I mean, you don't get Washington State and Stanford and Cal on your schedule anymore. So I'd imagine he's looking at his schedule and he's saying, man, I need an Appalachian State in there somewhere, so I can get another cupcake. So, I mean, that's got to be what's going on, right?
He doesn't want to suffer a non-conference loss. He thinks it'd be devastating. But this is Notre Dame. This is a rivalry. It goes back to 1920 and Newt Rockne. Why would you get rid of that rivalry? You can't do that.
Doesn't it seem like it was a sort of a manufactured rivalry? It was just like West Coast, big team in the Midwest. It wasn't like, like Yankees, Red Sox, it's on the same region. And
a lot of people have the opinion Notre Dame's great football program for decades upon decades, and USC's had great football in large chunks of time. Pete Carroll back to John McKay, and they played Notre Dame every year. And he doesn't want to play Notre Dame.
Well, he hasn't said he doesn't want to play him. He just says
1 year deal.
I want to go on a 1 year by year thing. And then then Notre Dame rejected the 1 year thing
so far.
So if they can't come to agreement on a 1 year or an extended, then there's nothing left, right?
Exactly. But Lincoln Riley, your illegitimate half brother, is the one that's driving this whole thing.
Yeah.
1 year or nothing.
Yeah. That's clearly what he's doing. And then as far as the Timberwolves are concerned, it's funny you bring up Anthony Edwards and mouthy, use that term. And he is. I mean, clearly it's the data's there. I mean, how much has he been fined? Right? Close to $1 million, right? When you add it all up. But I will say this about the Timberwolves is I really like their uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of that sort of midnight blue with the green, and the font is very unique. The way they do the font for the numbers, like the 0 is like a really big 0. So I like that. But the Timberwolves, they're not going to really get past OKC. I mean,
I don't think so.
No,
but they're good. They're deep. I mean, they did beat the holy hell out of the Lakers, did they not?
Oh, yeah. They put a whooping on them, And then as far as women's soccer goes, is the Women's World Cup this year in 25?
No, next year.
Okay, so both men and women are both in 26.
Yes.
But I would imagine Sophie Smith and, who the other
Mal Swanson.
Yeah, they're the two that are on maternity leave. Hopefully they'll be able to perform. Well,
that doesn't seem to be the story. At least that's not what I read.
Well, I'm just kind of doing the math in my head, 9 months and,
it's a big blow.
Yeah, that could be tough to figure that one out. But the Christian Pulisic angle is interesting because, boy, when they go into these CONCACAF, tournaments, you just hate it when the United States loses to Panama.
Yeah.
It's just so deflating. And then remember that 1 year, like I think it was 2 cycles ago, they didn't even qualify for the Olympics.
Exactly.
So you want them to go in there and dominate the North American Caribbean tournament, but really, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the World Cup, and Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie should be healthy and ready to go for that.
Well, the big issue is, and it's a major argument, we've talked about it in the past, FIFA, which is in the business of running global soccer, is in the business of making money, is scheduling all these additional unique new tournaments. This Club World Cup came out of nowhere, and this is eating up time on the schedule. These players have no downtime to recover from injuries, and guys get hurt. Pulisic, I read the story this afternoon out of London. Pulisic has played 3,500 minutes of soccer for AC Milan this year. 3,500. It's a monster amount of game action.
Wow.
And that's why, and he's had nagging injuries, and he's tried to stay on the pitch for as many games as possible, but they get so beat up. There's no time to rest because there's always something else. It's the Champions League, or as you'd say, it's a CONCACAF tournament, and you're bringing your guys back from their international side, and you're putting them on the field here. And Pochettino's got a problem because they played really poorly in the Nations League. That's where, you got pissed off about losing to Panama.
Right.
They played poorly there, and now they're going into the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is a significant tournament, and he doesn't have his top players because they're all beat up. So how do you bring your side together? Because he doesn't get access to these guys for extended periods of training time, or short windows when they're on leave from AC Milan or wherever they're playing to come practice with Team USA and then play. So he doesn't have a hell of a lot of time to put this thing together.
Let's go in priority order, right? Like from the player's perspective, their club team and their big contract is the most important thing. Playing for their team, for their nation in the World Cup is number 2. And then these, in between World Cup tournaments are kind of nice to get in there. So,
but how do you train to get used to all your teammates? That's a really young side.
Well, yeah.
How do you train if you're not there? Because you're not playing.
Well, you know what? Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson showed up. They had the dream team, and man, they cleaned house.
All right. Hey, we got it covered. We hope you've enjoyed this special late night edition